Hi, everybody. Good morning, and welcome to day one of R&P Top Employers. You joined here now with PwC. I'm with some of my colleagues here, and I'll let them introduce themselves in just a second. You're joining us today for a bit of a day in the life of me at PwC. So you're going to hear from my colleagues here, Anna, Niamh, and Niamh, to tell you a little bit about their stories, their experiences at PwC. And find out a little bit more around a day-to-day in the life of someone at PwC. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm really quickly just going to introduce myself, just so you know if you have any questions at the end of the session, which we absolutely encourage you to do. You can kind of point your questions to someone that you might like to ask your question to. Hopefully at the end we'll have time for those kind of panel questions. That's the idea. So as I say, my name is Carl. So lovely to meet you all. I'm Talent Engagement Senior Associate at PwC, and what that essentially means is that I support and recruit students and undergraduates and school leavers into PwC, and hopefully give you all a taste of what it's like to work at PwC. Because of course, until you work here, you don't get that official taste. But we have lots of opportunities and experiences to get some insight at PwC. So that's kind of what I do. If I was to describe PwC in a word, I always find this activity quite fun. It would be collaborative, and that is ever so true at the moment from a virtual working aspect. You know, we're more and more connected. So I've got my lovely colleagues here with me, and it's just like being in a Google Meet and working in a normal day. So no pressure from the audience, but I'm sure you'll ask us lots of inviting questions in a minute. But yeah, collaborative, lots of teamwork, really, really enjoyable as a result. An interesting fact about myself from PwC is that over lockdown in May, I cycled 180 kilometres as a solo bike ride. My legs never forgive me, still haven't forgiven me. It really hurts still, but I did that for the PwC Foundation charities because each year we have a day where we do those kind of activities, and we didn't get to do that in lockdown. So I took it upon myself to do a bit of fundraising there and cycle that. So that was good fun, but something that you might not know that we do at PwC. I'm going to head over to the next slide and I talk a little bit more about what PwC looks like to us. So everybody at PwC is kind of like demonstrates the PwC professional. I think is the best word to describe. This is also what we assess in the recruitment process. So the things on the screen right now, whole leadership, business acumen, relationships, etc., are all part of the PwC professional. And there's no secrets. This is exactly what we're assessing you against throughout the recruitment process. So for example, whole leadership. Don't expect you to have led a team previously, but experience does help, I guess. But ultimately, it's around how you lead yourself and how you get ideas out of other people and how you kind of work together as a team and lead others and things like that. And as it says in the bottom left, are you purpose-led and values-driven? This is exactly what the PwC professional does. It kind of creates a values-driven environment, and I'm sure my colleagues will talk a little bit more about that in just a second. We celebrate our culture of inclusion. We have something called Everyday Inclusion, and that celebrates the cultures and differences amongst every single person at PwC, and of course our experiences as well. We talked a little bit in our booth very shortly ago around that we all kind of seek each other's diverse opinions, especially when we're working on projects, to kind of get outside information to kind of add to our portfolio and our projects and how to help to improve those. And that's something that we celebrate here. And some of the values that come in there with PwC is active integrity. So speaking up when you feel necessary and challenging what's happening around you, especially with clients as well. Showing care, so looking after each other, so 100% something very important at the moment. Again, we talked in our booth around You Matter, which is kind of like what every business unit is working towards, has a team that's working towards looking after our people, setting fun activities and challenges and things like that to focus on well-being, and also working together. Critical. We don't sell a product. We do. So we don't manufacture a product. So what I meant to say at PwC, but we do sell a product, and that's our words of wisdom, advice, and our kind of communication with our clients and our people. And that's ultimately what we do at PwC. And what does this create? It creates a seriously diverse and exciting experience for every individual at PwC. And that's exactly what I've got my colleagues here with me now. They're going to introduce themselves and talk you through a little bit of their experience to date. And then we'll move into some panel questions shortly afterwards as well. So without further ado, I'm going to go over to Niamh, who's going to introduce herself and talk herself a little bit of their story.
No pressure. Thanks, Carl. Yeah, so I'm Niamh. I've been at PwC for about just over a year now. I work as a legal associate in the Belfast office. So just in terms of, we've got our nice little journey here. I came through the really boring route. I went to school, went to uni, got a job at PwC. But since I started PwC, we have actually a lot of opportunities. So my job, particularly, I'm a legal associate and I work on a regulatory reform project for an investment bank, which is really interesting. You get to learn a lot about like the financial industry. Obviously, every project is different, but as well, you get the opportunity to get involved in so many things outside your project. So I'm a wellbeing rep for my pillar, and you get the opportunity to do things like this. Um, PwC is very people orientated, so there's always lots of like extracurricular things to get involved in, like wellbeing initiatives, especially over lockdown. Like Carl said, it has been really collaborative, and there's always opportunities to get involved with lots of different things. As you'll see on the next slide, we have some photos, which will talk you through a number of different things. Oh, here, thanks, Carl. So the first photo is outreach initiative we do called Hive Hackers, where we go into primary schools and teach children how to code. I myself did not know how to code prior to doing this initiative, so don't worry. You can still get involved. You get all the training you need. Or the second photo is from what's called a town hall. So you have everyone in your pillar gets together and has a big meeting to talk about like your goals for the year, how the last quarter's gone. There's about 100 people in our pillar, but each pillar obviously is different. A pillar also is like equivalent to sort of a department. I'm just using really PwC language here, sorry. um, and then the third photo is from our strategy day. So once a year, PwC has like a big strategy day. They talk about what they want to do, what they want to achieve for the next year. And that one in particular, we got to build like a robotic hand to go to people that have maybe like lost a limb in third world countries. So we like collaborated as a team, made the hand, and then it got sent off. It was a really good initiative. And then you got to hear from the person that received the hand. The fourth photo was a wellbeing initiative we did at Christmas. So I don't know if you have ever seen Mean Girls, but where they do like a candy cane gram and everyone got a little candy cane at Christmas. We did that in our PwC Belfast office. So if you ever want to personally write 2,000 candy canes, then this is the the role for you. No, I'm only joking. We didn't personally write them, but every member of staff got a little candy cane just to like tell them to look after themselves over Christmas. Um, the next photo is from the beginner Spanish lessons that the Multicultural Business Network ran. I'm not going to try and show you any of the Spanish that I learned in those lessons, but it's just an example of like different opportunities that are available in the firm. And then the last photo is, well, that's actually a photo of me and the girls from my induction on our first day in the office. So a less professional photo, but that is, you get to make friends as well. I think that's, unless there's anything else you want me to cover, Cora. Is that everything?
Niamh, that's perfect, and I'm very much enjoying the Mean Girls reference there. And hopefully, like you said, you didn't have to write all of those candy cane grams there. That would be quite a task, but shows resilience, adaptability, the kind of skills that we look for at PwC, of course. But thank you so much. Niamh, we'll return to you in a second when we start some of the panel questions there. But I'm just going to move over to Jan to introduce himself and a bit of his experience as well.
Perfect. No, thank you, Carl and Niamh. Yes, I'm Jan. I'm a senior associate at PwC. So I also started on the graduate entry, but I've been here for 2 years now. So I'm a senior associate. So as we automatically progress, you sort of go through the stages. So I've sort of got my career journey plan up on the screen. You can sort of see I talk about some early setbacks, and that's I didn't get the grades that I wanted to get to university. So I redid my A-levels. I then went to university. I then failed first year at uni. And so I just had those early setbacks, and what struck me about PwC as well is that they don't look for, you know, whether you've had setbacks, whether it's your own doing like me or not your own doing, but I guess to your response and how you react to that. And I think I just want to highlight that is, you know, they really look for, you know, like your character and how resilient you are. Yeah, so those are sort of early setbacks. But for the rest, it's just sort of standard process. You know, I applied for PwC. I really wanted to go there. I did a lot of work towards the application process, and yeah, I was able to secure an offer. So I don't know if you want to go on to the next slide.
Of course.
Perfect. No, thank you. So yeah, I took some photos. So a few different photos to Niamh. The first picture there is actually a training course that it went on. So they took all of the so I sit in technology, data, and analytics, and all of the associates within that. When we first joined, you did a week away in Croydon. So even if you joined from the Edinburgh office, and we all got dumped into Croydon. It was a fairly nice hotel, lots of food and lots of fun. But the reason why I chose this photo is because PwC just invests so much in your training. Even now, like there's different trainings you can choose. You're just not in a set system. You can choose what training you want to do. What your interests are. So for me, PwC has meant an investment in myself. That second photo, I don't know if you can see it, but often we talk about the different clients we work with. I thought I'd highlight the clients that we don't work with, just because we work with so many. So that's just a little screenshot of you sort of see a breakdown. So I don't know if you can see it or not, but basically that shows that for the FTSE 100 clients, we don't work with 15% of them. So if you do join PwC, you'll just work with such a variety of big clients, small clients, and there's just so much different work to get involved with. On the topic of variety, that third picture, that is me in the US at a basketball game. So a particular client, we had to go to the US. Now, one thing that's also about this picture is obviously I work for PwC. Those of you that don't know, KPMG is a rival firm. But in that picture, there's actually a KPMG director, a couple of other KPMG employees, and two of us PwC. So we were working with KPMG on the project. They were the external auditors, we were the internal auditors. We both had to fly to the US. And the reason why I chose this photo is because no day at PwC is the same. The variety of stuff you get to do, you get to meet so many different people. Even if they're from rival firms, you can still hang out with them, and yeah, it's just really good fun. Number 4, that's a team social after a project. So the reason why I chose this photo is just there's just so much, I think, as Carl and Niamh mentioned, there's just so much about teamwork, cohesion, collaboration, and you really try and build a sense of togetherness. So that's just one of the many socials that I had. Now, 5th picture, those of you who don't recognize that's for dance, so that's Call of Duty. So I know Carl was definitely wondering why I had included that. So for me, PwC goes beyond just a working day from 9 to 5. I've met so many new friends. And also what I do in most evenings is just me and a few PwC colleagues, hop onto Call of Duty, and play a couple of rounds in for Verdansk. But there's just so many things to get involved with PwC, and that's what I love, is that because you do work hard, you make friends, but it goes beyond that 9 to 5, and you really make lifelong friends there. And that last thing is just around what a great experience PwC is for your career. So the reason why I included that screenshot, so that is actually from a Bloomberg job advert, and in there it says Big 4 experience required. So PwC, KPMG, and 2 other firms are part of the Big 4. And the more and more I'm on LinkedIn, and the more I see is actually your Big 4 experience is so valuable to other companies. So for me, just being at PwC is a great stepping stone if I don't want to be there for my career, and beyond that. So yeah, those are my 6 photos.
Thank you so much, Jan. And I was saying just before, for everybody in the audience, an away trip to Verdansk is clearly, going to really rack up the expenses. But it just shows that the social interaction is so critical at PwC, and there's so many opportunities. So in that regard, you could, say from an esports perspective, there'll be other kind of gaming communities, and of course, loads of other communities that do other kind of socials, from horse riding through to playing football like I do in Birmingham, for example. So a really, really nice summary there, Jan. And I'm
Absolutely.
enjoying your photos. I'm very jealous of your trips to America as well. We'll come back to Jan and Niamh in just a second, but I'm also just going to introduce Anna here as well. So I'll pass over to Anna.
Hi everyone. So I'm Anna, and I am currently a senior associate in banking and capital markets in the Milton Keynes office. A bit about me. So going way back, I always sort of knew that I wanted to go abroad to study. So I'm actually from Bulgaria, and I just wanted to meet new people, experience different cultures, and well, on a side note, I feel like choosing PwC is such a large international company. It's like the most diverse place. I could have gone to meet people from all over the world. So I'm really happy that I'm here. Back when I was at school, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So sort of what I wanted to work and etc. So I went into this website called Prospect, and I looked at different job profiles, seeing what skills are required and things like that. So I decided I wanted to do accounting. And I think because I did languages in school, I didn't actually do any business related modules. And I was really worried that I would struggle to catch up at university. And I looked at many different programs thinking, okay, which one is the best one I could have chosen? So I went to the Flying Starts degree in Reading University. And this was a program that gave me 3 placements with PwC for the course of, it's like a duration of 4 years. And I would study the first term, then work at PwC on a placement the second term, then come back and do exams. And I feel like this just really helped me so much in terms of applying the skills that I learned at university, and just going to a placement or an internship with an actual company is so much more helpful to give you the sort of skills or to show you how to apply what you learn. And I would say one of the things that really surprised me, as I said, I have no accounting background, right? So I thought, well, I'm going to go at work and people will expect so many things from me and I would have no idea how to do them. Actually, what I found out was there's such a great support network. So you have your career coach, you have a buddy, you have a lot of your peer group, lots of mentors that you can turn to, and it helps you do a lot of learning on the job. So no one actually expected me to know anything when I started, and I think that was really good about PwC, how they sort of teach you and they help you get in your feet and learn about the job, as long as you just are willing to learn. So now I have been in the Milton Keynes office for about over a year, and I work on large international banking clients in audit. And I would say, having been here for this long, one thing I noticed about PwC is you would think an accountant's life is boring. It is really not. Like, we have so many social activities, so many sports sort of clubs. So I actually wanted to include in one of my photos for the next slide. We had a badminton competition with one of our clients, but I couldn't find the photo. But it was so much fun. Actually, we lost, but it was fun. So yeah, to me, my career at PwC means being able to help clients find solutions to important challenges that they face, and this is what gives me satisfaction personally. Being able to help a person in a tough situation figure out how they should go about an issue that they're facing. And what I really, really appreciate is having the flexibility to work from home, say maybe go to the gym at 3 to 4 in the afternoon, which I think is really valuable and helps me balance work and life. Although, I mean, in the coronavirus situation, everyone's working from home anyway, but I think that this is one of the things that I actually really, really appreciate about PwC. And the other thing would be having such a wide range of career paths I could choose from, because I work in audit currently, but I could also move into so many different lines of service, such as tax, consulting, just in general, a lot of ways that I can develop personally. And you would have your conversations with this person called a career coach that would help you with your personal and career progression. So if Carl could move on to the next slide.
Of course I can.
I feel like the pictures I chose are a bit less professional compared to the other two slides, but the first picture on top that we've got is our Christmas jumper day at Milton Keynes PwC. So this is the majority of the people in our office. It's actually a pretty small office, and everyone's wearing a Christmas jumper, sort of having fun on a Friday. We also had the second picture is from the Christmas sort of party that we organize. So the firm organizes for us, and every Christmas we would do a Secret Santa, and you would try to guess who sent you a present, and you would go and celebrate in sort of like a really, really informal way. So you would get to meet a lot of your colleagues and network, and sort of you get to chat with a partner and things like that, which is just really cool. And like you figure out, oh, these people are just normal people like everyone else. They're not as unapproachable as people think. As for the other two pictures, this is actually the coronavirus situation. So we are working from home, but also we are always welcome to go to the office and work from there, or we could go over to our friends and work with them. So I've got a couple of friends from the London office I met up and worked with, and also I have a friend that just got a little cute golden retriever puppy. So I went over to work from her place just to go and play with the dog. So that was quite fun. And yeah, I think that's it from me. Please feel welcome to ask any questions.
So much, Anna, and thank you so much, Niamh and Jan, as well, for talking through your stories there. So just as a quick reminder then, so we have got some questions for the panel, and then we'll jump to the audience, to your lovely selves, to ask some questions as well. But just as a quick reminder, you've got Niamh, who's based in Belfast, one of our legal associates in PwC Operate, so she just talked through her story. Jan is based in Reading and works in technology risk sector, and Anna has just talked through her story, who is an audit senior associate based in Milton Keynes. So lots of different locations and a few different kind of roles here as well, to be able to talk through. And of course, I'm happy to answer any recruitment questions, as I've been doing in the chat as we go. But moving in to one of the first questions for our panel here. So I feel like I'm going to go to Niamh first. But how do you use the skills from your education in your role, and are there any skills that you're currently developing?
Thanks, Carl. I think I studied law at university, and obviously I'm in a legal role now, so there is quite a lot of transfer from that. I know a lot of the work we do involves like reviewing contracts, which we learned at uni. In terms of skills that I'm developing, I think before I joined PwC, probably my knowledge of the financial industry wasn't as good, because I'd focused on law the whole way through uni. So I've sat a professional qualification in that through PwC. PwC's funded it, and they give you the time off for your exams and stuff like that. So that's what I'm working on at the minute. Obviously because of COVID, my exam actually got cancelled. But I'm ready to do it when it's back.
Brilliant, thank you, Niamh, and a great example there, where we do have lots of joiners that join us with relevant degrees. So, for example, studying law and going into a legal profession, but absolutely on the contrasting side, you might have studied a science or a language and trained to be an accountant as well. PwC will train you to become an expert, and Niamh exactly there talking through, how she's built her skills there. From a financial, commercial awareness perspective as well. Jan, moving over to yourself, how about you? What did you study, and how are you using your education in your role? Oh, you might be on. Oh.
Yeah, no. So as you mentioned, I actually did aerospace engineering. Or not? Yeah, no. So I did aerospace engineering at university, and one of the things that I realised when doing that degree is that engineering is not what I want to do as a job. That's one of the things that I do love about, I think it's more the English system, is that you can study something and then look at your career options and choose where you want to go. I think there's many transferable skills that you pick up at uni. So while I might not use any of my sort of, aerospace engineering skills at PwC, what uni teaches you is just, like how to self-manage. It's up to you how you study. Saying PwC is up to you how you work. One of the things that we offer is, flexible working. You can sort of choose your working hours, and then there's just that expectation that you perform the work yourself, and just the same as uni. So it's about managing yourself. One of the things that I am able to transfer from my degree specifically is, sort of like how to approach problems. So PwC is very much project based. There's different projects, different challenges each time, and it's about how you approach it. So sort of in a logical thinking kind of way. So in that way, I've been able to use those skills. But I think just in general, the stuff that you pick up, throughout university, if you go to university or just throughout school, how to approach yourself to challenging situations.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing. And absolutely, a prime example there. You say studying aerospace engineering and then going into something slightly different, but how you actually apply those skills, and you really do kind of grow and develop those. And that's exactly what PwC try and empower you to do. So thank you, Jan. And Anna, how about yourself?
So because I did the Flying Start program, it was actually really tailored towards the role I would do at PwC. So a lot of the modules, as Niamh said about working towards a professional qualification, the qualification I do is the ACA with ICAW, and so there's 15 exams that you need to get the qualification, and you would also need 2 years of working experience. And from university alone, all of my modules were sort of designed to copy the ICAW qualification modules. And I actually got exemptions from 12 out of the 15 exams. And I think a lot of these, so say assurance or financial management, of course, accounting, law, a lot of the things that I learned in those modules were actually really, really helpful for me to do my role at PwC. Other than that, though, I think you could still say a lot of the extracurricular activities I did. So, for instance, if you guys joined any clubs, I was, for instance, the treasurer. You could say, I picked up some skills, just managing people, organizing events, things like that. So I think all of these are much appreciated.
Thanks, Hannah. And yeah, another insight there of studying a relevant degree, and gave you, you ultimately studied towards your ACA qualification, Anna, and you got the exemptions from your degree. So anyone else studying accounting and finance subjects, and you are fancying following that kind of pathway, then you may get some exemptions as well. So it's worth kind of considering those kind of options. But ultimately, studying other degrees as well, like Jan was mentioning around engineering, absolutely very, very welcome. And I've seen a few questions in the chat around those kind of things as well. You can study ultimately anything and grow into a career at PwC. So we're going to move on to the next question, because I think this, and I'm hoping you all don't say the same thing, but you might, and that's absolutely fine. But what is the most interesting trend for you and or your clients in 2020? So Niamh, I'm going to start with yourself again.
So for us, I know, well, particularly in regulatory reform, obviously it'll be different changes in the law. So we were surprisingly unaffected by COVID. So my answer actually isn't COVID. But there's essentially like an interest rate, which called IBOR, that 93% of finance contracts are linked to worldwide. And it's being discontinued at the end of next year. So that is where we get the vast majority of our queries from clients from. If anyone wants any more information on that, I can go deeper, but I don't want to bore you.
I'm already hooked and interested, given that you said that such a high proportion of contracts are linked to this, and it seems like such a major change. But I think that's an exciting part of your role, Niamh. With laws and regulations changing so often. And it throws major curveballs into the works, which sounds great. And sitting, I said on our booth earlier, sitting in this kind of environment as a call as such, it feels very much like my normal working day now. But PwC been ultimately flexible with how we work, and we can go into the offices and things like that now, which is great, but definitely a challenge of getting used to right now, and still forever developing on that. Anna, how about yourself? What about your thoughts that you've noticed for trends in 2020?
So for me personally, I work in banking, so I audit a lot of banks, and again, an impact of COVID has been the fact that it is really, some people have lost their jobs, and it's really difficult for them to say if a bank gave someone a loan, they would have to repay that loan, and the bank relies on the person repaying the loan to sort of have funding activities and continue to operate. And one of the areas I work on is called expected credit loss, which means sort of how much of the receivables or the money that people owe you that you are expected to receive. Do you expect to, maybe you won't receive it because maybe the person lost their job, and this really impacts maybe whether the bank will continue to operate, or maybe if the bank will just go bankrupt. So it's a really important area for this year to just make sure that what we call is a going concern for all our clients, to make sure that they can continue to operate.
Thank you, Anna. And we'll move on to the next question now as well. And this is kind of linked quite nicely at the moment. I've seen a few questions in the chat, and obviously Jan talking around the virtual working side there already. So, in terms of this, so what in your opinions, what effect has virtual working made on our industry as a whole? Niamh, I'll start with you in the kind of the sequence I'm getting used to now.
I think there's been positives and negatives. So I think it's definitely helped people be more collaborative. So for our team, we have people in London, Leeds, and Edinburgh. And before, obviously, like people were flying over, you didn't get to see the other people as much. Whereas now that everything's virtual, it gave everyone much more of a chance to get involved and collaborate together. I think on a negative side, I do personally prefer being in the office and being able to chat to people. On the industry, I think for PwC, personally, we were all really equipped to work from home. Like we all have iPhones, we all have laptops. So we really took to it like a duck to water, but I know other companies didn't adapt as well. So I think it's definitely initially maybe had an impact on things like productivity or turnarounds, but I think everyone's adapted quite well now, and I can see virtual working being kind of sticking around for the future. I think, I don't know, I'm just guessing.
No, this is your opinion, so I'm very grateful for that. And absolutely, like you said there will be many people, including yourself, that prefer those kind of conversations in the office and being able to work there and be productive. So lots and lots of challenges, in terms of how we work together, that you're highlighting there as well. But hopefully things that we're adapting to and enjoying. Jan, how about yourself? You've talked a little bit already around the virtual working side, but what about the kind of effect on the industry?
Yeah, so I think initially, I think as PwC, definitely as a firm, we were really worried about the effect it would have on our clients and the whole industry. How would we interact with them? And there's definitely a lot of conversations happening about that. I think ultimately we sort of surprised ourselves, PwC as a whole, as how easily we as a firm were able to adapt, and sort of I think it was almost seen as doom and gloom, but there've been as Niamh mentioned, a few positives. First of all, talking to our clients, we can relate to this. We're all going through the same thing, and often, building that common ground is really important. And also, I think I already touched upon this, but I've met people's families, kids. They just wander in, and especially over the summer holidays, and it was just really nice, and it made it really personal. And I think it's actually allowed us to develop relationships which we wouldn't have been if we were just in the office, because that's always a very professional environment, but people feel a bit more relaxed at home. So I go those are the sort of surprising effects. But I think, yeah, as Niamh mentioned, people do miss that face-to-face contact.
Yeah, great answer, Jan, and yeah, I've very much enjoyed. For the audience listening, you might think of that very classic scene of the child running in BBC News and just causing a little bit of a scene, and ultimately, like you said, it's really empowered some of our personal relationships with the people we work with, just because you see a little bit extra and hear a bit extra, which is always really good fun. And Anna, last but not least, how about yourself? What kind of things have you noticed from challenges, or what effects we've seen on the industry?
Well, actually, I wanted to talk about our team that I'm currently working on. As Niamh said, it's really difficult to have these random chats with people throughout the day when you're not in the office. And with that in mind, what we did is we actually created daily calls where everyone would join, and we would just have a couple of minutes just chatting to each other, doing a few fun activities such as Drawasaurus, making sure that we actually keep that interaction and the networking and the positivity going on in the team. And I think the fact that PwC gave us a dedicated, time of the day that we're able to do this and, able to feel connected with other people, I think I really appreciate this.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Anna. So I like this question a lot, and I'm conscious of time and want to make sure the audience can ask some of their questions as well. So I'll go for this one and one more, and jump into some of the audience questions as well. But I like this one a lot. So what one thing would you like to share about PwC that you think is great, but not many people will know? So Niamh, over to you.
I think what actually surprised me the most when I started was how people oriented it is. I think because it's such a big global company, you sort of expect to be like a little fish in a big pond, but it's not at all. Like I said before, I'm a wellbeing rep for the pillar, and we get a lot of like free rein to like just organise things. So that, like for example, I have to host a yoga session straight after this for our pillar, and so I think it's really people oriented. Like there's wellbeing reps in every pillar. There's You Matter reps, which is like the initiative where they take all of your feedback on board, and there's diversity and inclusion reps. There's another one that I can't think of off the top of my head. But yeah, just how people oriented it is, how like you aren't a small fish in a big pond, like every single person really has a voice.
That's really great to hear, and I resonate with that a lot. And thanks for the shout out for You Matter, because that's I'm part of that team for our pillar as well. So, but yeah, no, really great shout. And Jan, how about yourself? What's your thing that surprised you or think is great?
Yeah, so I think for me, my biggest surprise was the fact how flat structure PwC is. So what I mean by that is the sort of teams that you work with, you very quickly, I know Anna mentioned that you work with partners, directors. So partners, they're sort of like the people that head up our firm. They're like the big bosses. But you very quickly work with them. You build a relationship with them. Someone's in the team. There might be, I'm a senior associate, so there might be an associate, a senior manager, and a director, and a partner, and so you build relationships very quickly with those people. And yeah, I think as Niamh mentioned, it's just so inclusive, and yeah, it's just you get to work with all different types of people.
Brilliant, thank you, Jan. And Anna, how about yourself?
For me, the biggest thing I didn't know was actually how much the firm pays attention to coaching. So as soon as you join, you are never alone. You never just get given something and get told, well, do this. There's always someone that tells you how to do it, and that obviously there's people at different levels. So there's maybe the director won't come and tell you how to do something, but a senior associate will come tell you, or when you're a senior associate, a manager will come tell you. And at every step of the way, there's someone there to support you and to help you get your work done. So I think this is one of the things that I really, really appreciate about working at PwC.
Thanks, Anna, and I really resonate with that as well. And similar to what you're saying there, it kind of works in a reverse order as well. So when I was in the office, you observe a few more things, and you often see it the other way around as well, where a PwC partner or director is actually getting some kind of coaching from manager, senior associate, somebody that is maybe perceived as more junior than them. And that's because, Niamh alluded to this earlier as well, with the way that rules and regs change so often, it does work on both levels as well. So you're always going to have the opportunity to be coached, for absolute definite, in terms of building your skills, but there's always the opportunity to give back and teach others that are, more senior than yourself as well. And that's a really, really great way to develop yourself. So thanks for sharing that, Anna. So I'm going to do one more question. I think this is probably my favourite one I'm going to do before I open up to the audience for a last couple of questions. But what is the biggest misconception about your role? So Niamh, I'll start with yourself.
Oh God. I'm not sure. I think with legal rules generally, like I think a lot of people think it's going to be really boring. And don't get me wrong, we do have to read the odd contract. But generally speaking, I think it's really, really interesting. I think especially in regulatory reform, it's always changes in the law that you're focused on. And every client that comes in is asking about their personal impact. You get to analyse their trading data. And every single question's different. It is one, like no 2 days are the same. You don't just like sit and read contracts all the time. It's every day. There's like a lot of variety. And I definitely wouldn't say it is boring. But obviously depends on your opinion of law, but I don't think it's boring.
Let your passion shine. I think is a really good thing to kind of highlight there from Niamh's statement. And Jan, what about in your role? What's the biggest misconception?
Yeah, so I'm going to change the question slightly and say what's the biggest misconception about PwC. And for me, because I wanted to address this, and for me, I just imagined I was going into quite a ruthless environment where you sort of had to like try and fight your way to get to the top. You can have like managers that are, or senior managers, eagerly to progress, and they can be giving you lots of work and claim credit for your work. And it was sort of like one of those type of environments. But I was completely wrong entering PwC. People want to build you up, so much and quickly, and they're so supportive. And one of the things as well, if you want to progress, you have to get downwards feedback. So at PwC, we're all about feedback, and we get feedback upwards and downwards. And what that means is that we get feedback from our seniors, but we also have to get feedback from our juniors to progress. So managers, senior managers, and above will have to get your feedback on how they've performed in order, to make it to the next stage. And so we're constantly trying to better ourselves, and not just trying to impress the top, but we're trying to impress everyone, both juniors and seniors. And so that's one of the things that really surprised me the most about PwC.
Thank you, Jan. Yeah, great point. And I think, in my time spent outside of PwC and outside of professional services, I've never seen feedback a part of, feedback is important, but never as important as it has been in my experience at PwC, and how you use that and actively encourage to seek more feedback and receive that and give feedback as well. Massively important for development. So really, really good point to add there, Jan. And last but not least, a biggest misconception of your role or PwC, in following on from Jan.
Well, first of all, I'd like to touch up slightly on one thing that Jan said. I also had this sort of expectation that, PwC would be very professional, very strict. You would go into the office and see suits everywhere. And actually, first year, there are people that like dressing up, and it's fine. But actually, first of all, we have dress down Fridays when everyone comes in jeans, and then actually, probably about 2 years ago, it changed into every day is a dress down day in the office. So as long as you're not, if you go to the client, and if the client likes wearing jeans, then all right, you can wear jeans. If it's a really professional meeting, then maybe you'd have to dress up. But other than that, like most people just come in Games of Thrones t-shirts and all sorts of stuff. So it's really not as scary as I thought it would be from that side of things.
I really like that, and absolutely share the same opinion. When I first walked in, and everybody was dressed in completely different things, how you basically feel the most comfortable. And it sounds like a really, really little thing right now when you're at university, you can kind of do a little bit more of what you want and feel comfortable in, in your own clothes and stuff like that. But absolutely, it makes a massive difference to my personal productivity, feeling a bit more comfortable, and occasionally, I'll be in my football kit ready to strike out when for five-a-side when the day's over and stuff like that as well. So you do see real variety. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think that was a really nice a really nice question to end on. So I'm coming towards the end of our presentation, but I know that a few of you have been submitting your questions, and apologies I've not been able to get to every single question. However, please do keep submitting your questions. We're live in our booth 10 till 4 today and tomorrow, and generally speaking, there's either 4 or 5 kind of PwC colleagues in the booth at any one time. So lots of people to kind of ask questions and share that too. So please do go into the booth now, ask your questions and things like that, and connect with us. This is the best way to learn about PwC. Really, really encourage that. Just before we end up, feel free to connect with us. So of course, come into our booth, but connect with us on our social channels as well, where we share quite regularly on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everywhere. Do connect with us, and definitely come and connect with us in our booth now. But thank you so much for tuning into our presentation. I hope you join me in a virtual round of applause for Anna, Niamh, and Niamh for sharing their stories, and hope you've learned a lot from that. So thank you so much to my panelists, and thank you for listening, and see you in the booth. Enjoy your days.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.